MM1.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining us for another episode of MM1. I am a Lopex, always joined by Bill Sod over here,
Hey,
Kyle and Caleb coming at you. And we are here to discuss the thrilling conclusion of KTP Silver Season 4. When I tell you, Caleb, that the amount of parity in this division is just incredible, and we're going in, we had 9 teams total. We eliminated Nation of Arum, so props on them for playing out the whole season, but they were brand new to the game and definitely outclassed by, 15-year veterans. But they put up a really good fight. They actually got a cap out on their last match. So
wild.
next season they're coming back strong. Keep an eye out for them in the 12 mans coming up on this offseason. But we are transitioning into an 8-team playoff where every single thing is best of 3. And with the amount of parity going on, that means since they're all best of 3s, they're all completely up in the air. In fact, we just finished up on Halley, where we had some upsets, where we had some teams that you thought should win, ended up not putting the best showing together, and that's kind of affected our seeding. And we had some teams that we did think we would win, but actually it came to a lot closer than we thought it was going to on that map. One of them specifically being the top seed in our playoffs here, 3H, led by Modgers and Crazy Killer. They grabbed the top seed with a win over Washed Up on Halley. But Caleb, you watched that match as it occurred, and that match was nowhere near a blowout.
No, and if you look at the scores, you see that 3H won by 40, 44, 45, somewhere in that range, and it makes it seem like that wasn't even close. But that last cap out happened with 10 seconds left on the clock. And even at that point, that last cap out didn't determine the victory. That was just like the cherry on top for 3H being able to hold to win. And they really played a special kind of defense. Once they had everything they had needed in place to win, they were able to hold that victory. And that really set them apart from what Washed Up tried to do. I want to start in the beginning with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. 3H was down by 1 point. And then the way that the flags were at, the bridge was at 3H's control, and then the heavy route was at Washed Up's control. So the way that works for ticks, every 30 seconds, each team would get 1 point for controlling one advanced flag. They don't get any points for controlling their own flag, but if they control a flag other than their own, they get 1 point per tick. Mm-hmm. So the ticks happen at 228, 158, 128, 58 seconds left, and 28 seconds left. 30 seconds apart at each of the 28, 58, 28, 20, etc. So what 3H has to do in order to win is they have to get another flag to offset those ticks. And this is another thing about Halley. We're talking about Railroad a few weeks ago. In Railroad, if you get any of the opposing flags, you don't get points. You only get the points from the ticks. On Halley, you get 2 points just by capturing the flag. So they're down by 1 now. All they have to do is capture a flag and they automatically take the lead. So at 2:30, it's tied. So they're just getting 1 tick each. So it's still, the tick points are tied. So they're getting 1 point each. 3H is still down by 1. At 2:58, they're still down by 1. So they're running out of ticks at this point. So Washed Up has the lead by 1. They just have to hold. They go for bridge. I don't know who made that call. I don't know why they went for bridge. CK is up in the sniper loft as allies, already with a nade in his hand primed. Throws it out, gets a double kill. One of the guys he kills is ProStar. ProStar's going the heavy route. They're missing guys on the heavy route because ProStar was capping bridge. Another tick goes by, still 1 tick for each team. Another tick goes by, still 1 tick for each team. 8 seconds after that next tick, so 1 minute and 20 seconds left. 3H is able to get that table side flag. Now they have the lead by 1, and they're coasting to victory because they have the tick points. Washed Up is out of sorts. They don't know where to go. They don't know how to get this lead back. I don't even know if they know they lost the lead at this point. They might be under the assumption they need a cap out. All they needed to do was get a flag and start those ticks back up again. They had 20 seconds in order to get a flag back to start those ticks again. They were on the back foot. They lose another tick battle. They lose 2 more points. Now they're down by 4. It was getting dicey. And then 3H team wiped them and was able to sprint for the flag and win by 40. And I really think this is a testament to each team needs to know if they want to progress out of this quarterfinals. The parity is enough that you can't just win by team wiping and capping flags. You have to know what it takes to get more points than the other team. And if it's less than 5 points, you don't need a cap out. Just figure out what you need to do to get those tick points in order to win.
So the question I have going back on there, when you say they're down by 1 or they're up by 1, that's with the addition of first half in there. And we don't have the luxury of when we're playing, unless we have the score written down in front of us, we don't have the luxury
For sure.
of, and you have to do the math, right? Because it's like, oh, I had 138 last half and we're at 78 now. You got to add those together to figure out where each team is.
I was shoutcasting it and I was still making the mistakes because when I was shoutcasting, I thought that you only got 1 point for capping a flag. And then I thought like they should be tied, but 3H took the lead because they got 2 points for capturing the mountainside flag. And then that threw even me off. I wasn't even in the server. So like when it comes to these close games, if you're not on point, you can have it taken away from you so easily just because you didn't understand how the map worked.
And this is one of the quirks of Day of Defeat, and I think DoD as a competitive shooter, as a, if you want to call it an esport, we went to CPL, that's esport, right? So
nice.
As an esport that is limited by the fact that it's a 2002 game, is we don't have that kind of support that other like Call of Duty or even Counter-Strike or Valorant have, in that our engine doesn't do a lot of the math for us. It doesn't we don't have the same information available for our decision-making process. Combine that with the fact that DoD has the largest teams of a non-squad-based shooter. We have the largest teams, 6v6. A lot of other even Overwatch went to 5v5. Right? And so we have a lot of voices. That's 2 extra voices, right? 1 on each side that are adding into the discussion. And we don't necessarily have like especially, nowadays in essentially just this adult beer league, we don't really have like a coach making those decisions. It's just kind of everyone as a group, democracy wins, right? But when it comes down to 3 minutes left, how many points do we need? What are we doing? I don't know. And you're still trying to play while you're trying to figure that out, right?
You still got people shooting at you.
You still got bullets flying, right? You can't lose that map control.
There are no timeouts. There's no like 30 seconds in between rounds. It literally is, do I push or do I hold? And you're deciding that decision as you're being shot at. And then you might have made a decision, but are your teammates making the same decision?
Exactly.
Because if one of you guys decides we need to cap bridge when all you needed to do was just hold to win, and obviously holding for 2.5 minutes is a difficult task, but just it's doable.
It's doable, especially with that prone key.
Oh, and it's also doable if you like let's say you need to hold bridge from killing you in spawn. So you send like a sniper to watch the bridge angles, and then you send a nice rifle to complement that sniper, and then you send 4 guys mountainside, and you defend that flag with 4 instead of 3, and you definitely don't take one of those guys to capture bridge. So now you only have 2 over there. Like that's why I'm saying that I don't think that Washed Up knew how crucial it was just to hold that flag. I think they thought they either needed to cap out or they thought they needed to get that to get ticks. They were still up by 1 at that point. All they needed to do was hold to win. And it's even when you're watching it, if you don't understand what's going on, like it's still hard to read. And that's why I think that like some of these maps are complicated. Some of these maps, they obviously don't play the same. And like going in, if you don't do your homework on how this wins, you're gonna have a lot of trouble. And I think we already saw it in the first match of quarterfinals so far. I think we've already seen it. Washed Up versus Spicy. I want to go over rosters before we get into that match.
Okay.
But Washed Up Spicy is now currently a best of 2. They've already played 1 match. Of course, Spicy is Die Life and Dilliard on the rifles. Laura sometimes gets that Car 98 if they do some creative mathematician work
It
to
also
get.
depends on the map.
Yeah, and I think that gives them a dynamic usefulness to their rosters if they have a way to either get Die Life onto a route that he can dominate on, and that gives Laura Car 98, or sometimes Stealth is able to get off of the sniper, those kinds of things to be able to free up a bolt action rifle for Laura. And so obviously Laura rounds out the thirds. Then you have Stamp and Twist on the heavies. And even sometimes Twist takes a light in order to give another heavy to somebody else. And then, of course, you have Kevin, who primarily snipes, but sometimes flops to other guns in order to free up some classes for his teams.
He'll grab
So,
that carbine all the time
yeah,
on allies.
whenever he needs a grenade, we've all seen it, especially on Thunder. So, Spicy Band Harrington, Washed Up Bands Thunder, Spicy Bands Railroad 2, Washed Up Bands AMZU. We're left with Rail Yard as the first map. That was on Thursday. Spicy won that map, and I think I have a feeling I know why. Axis they were down early. They lost it by about 70 or 80 on Washed Up on Axis, Spicy on Allies. It's definitely an Axis sided map, but I think the reason that Washed Up wasn't able to do as well on their ally staff wasn't necessarily because it was an Axis sided map. It's because the ally sniper is much harder to play than an Axis sniper on that map.
So
And
my
Warrington was able,
soapbox,
yeah,
not to derail the conversation, but I loathe Railroad 1 and Rail Yard being the Blu-ray release of, the director's cut Blu-ray extra 30 minutes found in the cutting room floor remake of Railroad 1. Railroad 2 fixed all the problems. I don't understand why we still play Railroad 1, to be honest with you. But it comes down to that Allies loft area. The Allied sniper, what are they supposed to do?
it's so difficult because like the old meta back in the day was allied sniper would go to white steps, and that is so hard because the flank from blue room, like the Axis would either send a sniper or a Car 98 blue, or in my case, I would MG the hell out of blue. And then like if you're an allied sniper, you're getting flanked by like anyone from blue room. It's just like impossible to do anything. And then now on this version of Rail Yard, as opposed to Railroad 1, Rail Yard has that little loft on the left that's so difficult to get good angles on a dominant Axis sniper loft. It's
Well,
really hard to do anything.
an Axis sniper loft on this map has 2 windows. And so you would think that might be a disadvantage because you can see them from another angle, but the way that the it's set up, the 2 windows, and then whatever that, if you want to call it a loft, it's not even a loft, it's just the house over on the left side. The way, like,
Yeah,
if you're in on that house with the allied sniper, all you can see is the very edge of the right window of the loft. Meanwhile, the Axis sniper can be anywhere from half of that window to the entire other window, holding down middle, sniping white stairs, looking at the allied balcony. The only place the Axis sniper can't see from safety is that connector or that the ticket area. But if you have a good Car 98 going apartments, which nowadays you always do, they can
yeah.
hold down that ticket area. And really, like, I know this is an Axis-sided half, but looking at the scores of this one, it's an Axis-sided half, but it's not that big of an Axis-sided half. Like,
Well,
both
yeah,
Axis sides just completely dominated in this match.
I think that they've changed a little bit of the angle as the sniper from Axis Loft is looking down white steps. I know that it's no longer a sandbag, but it's some sort of concrete slab. I know that they've raised and lowered that a few different times to figure out a good height that makes it harder for that Axis sniper to shoot people coming out of spawn. So it is definitely lowered the kill totals for Axis snipers just by that one change alone. And then also they've moved some of the windows on that McDonald's Allies loft to give them a little bit more purchase over middle for snipers on Allies. But you're right. The thing that makes it so hard for Allies sniper is they don't have a window that has clear view of everything, and they don't have a way to avoid a lot of grenades. And also their loft is so easily accessible. They can get flanked by other players. Other players will camp their loft. It's just a nightmare for ally snipers. And I think that it's still an axis-sided map because it's been an axis-sided map because it's kind of like you're shooting downhill and you're throwing grenades downhill. It's just easy to spawn camp on axis. And if you can't get out of spawn on allies, you can't do as much. And like once you're out of spawn, you can get a lot of shit done. But if you're just dying as you're jumping off of a white wall, it's just rough. And I think the map adds variety. I enjoy playing it. I think that Train plays very differently on this map, and obviously it's a chokehold, that's going to play the same, but the width of the walls is different. Once you pop out, it's a different set of circumstances that you have to deal with. So it's enough of a variety for me that I feel like it plays slightly differently. But at the same time, I have troubles on that map, and I prefer the second one just because I have more comfort in it. But I do feel like this was a conscious decision on Spicy's part to put their sniper in a better position than washed up sniper. And I think it really showed. I think War Within's a great player, but I really think that Kevin was able to outperform him second half, and he was almost a non-factor on his allies half. I think they put Casino Royale on sniper to end the match. Like that, War Within just needed a reprieve.
Yeah, that's always rough when that's usually the role I fill, the role of not doing anything. And it's very rough to know that you're not performing up to what you expect or what others expect of you, and that can really throw not just you but also your entire team into a funk. And we see that in all sports, right? Not just esports, but we see that in all sort of competitive environments. And to have Casino just switch over for that could provide the spark. You know, they were looking for a spark to provide. We also see it when teams completely switch up roles, like they'll flood one side or the other. We talked in the past about how R11 is very good at that, and that does provide them a spark when they are down or they need to switch over. When we looked at their with LZL looking at their RR2 match, that provided them a spark for that, but it's not a guarantee, right? Like, and this goes back to what we were just saying. We don't have timeouts. We don't have any time to sit there, recollect ourselves, and come up with a new idea. The only time you get for that is when the other team caps out on you. Well, now you're in the hole, right? So if you're going for that for like a timeout area, you're sacrificing points essentially for that, and so. It can really spiral. We see like that's one of the things with Day of Defeat, and I think we saw in that half is Washed Up went out to a very early lead in that first half, and they never let it go. But then second half rolls around. It is an axis-sided map, right? So now Spicy should, be feeling a little bit better. Okay, now we're on the side that plays a little bit more downhill. Laura going blue is a lot more comfortable on axis side. She plays a lot more comfortable going axis side than she does ally side on that. And we see Spicy jump out to a lead, and Washed Up is unable to recollect themselves. Like it. I don't know if that's the takeaway you got, but after that second half, I walked away thinking Washed Up got into a spiral and they just went.
Yeah, it was rough for their second half, and I do want to clarify, when they did cap out on their first half, Dilliard was disconnecting, reconnecting. I didn't ask him directly what was that about. I think it was probably
it's got to be internet issues. Yeah, there's no way that's on purpose.
Yeah. You have your resolution set before you join a server. I don't think that was resolution. And then so during that
hold on. We gotta sorry. We gotta do drama. Dilliard was toggling.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so
I've seen his setup. Definitely. So in the Moss files, don't go there. We should talk about Washed Up's roster real fast before we get into the second match.
Mm-hmm.
I know for a fact War Within, PB, Cass, Hopper, and ProStar are all playing. We could probably imagine those guys will probably play the same routes. They were playing the same gun assignments.
Mm-hmm.
Secretly is planned to play this match on tomorrow night on Sunday. if Secretly cannot be there, Bromley's going to be there. I feel like those are both competent players that are going to be able to do their jobs. You're not losing any skill by having Bromley in there. You're not losing any uh, teamwork by having Bromley in there over Secretly. I think those are both great players to have. They both have played together before. Either one of those rifles is going to be a good option, whether they're third, whether they're primary. I know Cass has been bouncing back and forth between primary and third. And then, of course, we're heading into Lennon. This is the map that Spicy hasn't had a match on in a while. Not only that, this is a map that PB's really good at.
PB is
I'm
very good at
imagining
this map.
Hopper and ProStar are really good at this map. This isn't a map where you definitely need to have a strong sniper. I know that Stealth likes this map, but is Stealth
Stealth
being
also gives up the sniper a lot on this map.
Yeah, I don't want to dive like really into what I think they're going to do because I think both teams are going to throw a lot of curveballs trying to figure this out. But I do think that Wash Up is definitely back to the wall. If Spicy wins this, they're
They move
moving on.
So
Yeah,
I think this is the fact that they have a split best of 3 here. So most of these matches are best of 3, all 3 in a row, right? So you play 2,
Yeah.
and then if you need the third, you play. We have they played their first one on Thursday, and now we've had Friday, Saturday, Sunday for both teams to go back to the drawing board and to try to figure out what's going on. And we have Spicy; they have a cushion, right? Because if Washed Up wins this on Lennon, then we go to Armory, and
I have yeah.
we haven't seen an Armory playoff match yet.
I haven't seen how much each team is practicing these maps, but I have a feeling that Washed Up is just going to generally play better because this is a map that all of them have generally played more than Railyard.
Yes, Railyard is usually not a popular scrim map.
And I've said this before, if you just take your Railroad 2 strategy and just apply it to Railyard, and if the other team has some sort of like variant that they're going to do, or if they have some sort of plan to shut down your sniper, or if they have some sort of plan to like just do something that isn't a Railroad 2 strat, you're going to get caught off guard. You can't treat this map like Railroad 2. It looks the same. It just looks like a different skin texture with a little bit of different windows. But really, when it comes to like route assignments, you can really surprise teams if you just have different route assignments and then they don't. And I think that's all it took for Spicy to win Axis F, is they just had a little bit of a better grasp of how to play that on Axis, and then the Allies didn't have as good of a grasp of how to play it on Allies, and it just fell apart for Washed Up. But I think Lennon is a map that they both know better, and I think that it's a coin flip in my opinion. I think both of them have really strong players. Both of them have strong players in key positions. It could go either way. It would not shock me if this goes to 3. It would not shock me if this ends in 2. If it does go to 3, it's going to be Armory. And
I think
if I were
Armory's
to,
a toss-up at this point. I don't think Armory's been around long enough for us to really have a good grasp on which teams are strong and which ones aren't on it.
I know Spicy's been practicing Armory a lot in the last month or 2 since they've been playing it. I don't know if that means that they're ready to just like run all over Washed Up, but if they're playing Secretly, this might be Secretly's first time playing Armory. Did Cass play Armory for the last time? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
This could be a first time for a few of these players playing key parts of this map. I think when they played Armory, I think it was against Nation. And if it was against Nation, I think that's not really good practice on the map.
Washed Up did play Nation on Armory, so yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like they've had really been tried or tested on this map at all. This could be dicey if it ends up on Armory, but again, it could be a coin flip. If I were to guess, I think Spicy wins it on Lennon. If it goes to Armory, I think Spicy wins it on Armory.
Yeah, I think Washed Up has a shot of pulling Lennon off, especially if Paintball and ProStar can kind of go off. I think if Paintball can really lock down that well area, which he has in the past, he's been known to do that. But Die Life and Dilliard aren't going to go down without a fight, right? So I think it kind of comes down to that. So I agree. I also think Spicy will pull it out. I think it's going to be very close on Lennon. And then if it goes to Armory, Spicy lost Armory pretty rough against Insomniac back in the regular season. but they have been scrimming a lot since then. So I think Spicy will be. I'm picking Spicy to win this best of 3 is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think so too. Are you ready to move on to a different match?
Right, so that's the 3 and the 6 matchup. So right above them, so the winner of this matchup will then face the winner of the 2-7 matchup in the semifinals. So 2 versus 7, we have an insider information here because the second seed is the SAAB Appreciation Society, aka the team that
Yeah,
you
here
play
comes
for.
all the dirt.
And then you guys are playing against the 7th seed, Shut Up, We Are Trying, who, being captained by Nicholson, Nicholson is lobbying for GM of the season with the moves that he's made for Shut Up, We Are
Have you
Trying.
seen the way he's upgraded that roster? I mean, let's just be honest.
It's almost a completely different team than what we started the year with.
And Shut Up has just upgraded their roster almost at every position, and they've also moved their players to positions that they could be strong with their new additions. You now have Stark and Crod, who weren't on that week 1 lineup. They're now here in these quarterfinals. DB is confirmed to be sniping. No issues with scheduling. He's going to be there at 3 Eastern tomorrow. AimTech moves from the sniper to the primary rifle, a strong position where he can roam better. He's not in a solid just window waiting for opponents. He's able to take initiative and take those aggressive positions. Illusion, a defensive rifle, still playing from week 1 all the way through. Probably one of the leaders on this team because he's been there the longest time with Nicholson. And then Nicholson on the 3rd. This really rounds up a strong team. They banned Anzio and Railroad 2. I think I know why they banned Railroad 2, and I'm not going to quote. It's because I'm the best at that map that ever existed. And then you have SAAB. We banned Railyard because we don't trust that map. We banned Lennon. Don't want to tell why. It's just I get the heebie-jeebies about Lennon in playoffs. I've lost too many times in playoffs on Lennon. And then we were left with Armory, Thunder, Harrington. We go Armory first. We've already played them on Armory. We've already beat them on Armory. We're ready for this. DB sniped both that time and this time. We've played them on that. The difference is they're going to have Stark as opposed to Big Willie Dose. I don't know if that's going to be enough to point them over the edge. They're thinking this is their best lineup. They're thinking this is what's going to put them over the edge on that first map. If they can win that first map, SAAB's going to be in a big load of trouble. Of course, SAAB's lineup, we have 7 players on our roster. Toki, myself, Caleb Sod, Scotty, Nightmare, Manor, King Yo, and Johnny. That's a 7-man roster that we plan to alternate players in and out depending on who's needed, who's better at what maps, who's needed at what positions. We're ready. We're willing to sit players that need to be sat. We're willing to start the players that are hot. We're all on the same page. This 7-man roster is very cohesive. I'm really, really happy to be on this team. And I think it's going to go to 3 because the second map is Thunder. Thunder's a coin flip. Who gets a ninja cap is going to win that map. And then Harrington, I feel confident on Harrington. There's a reason we wanted that in the last 3.
I love Harrington being the decider. That's so day defeat. That is so like Harrington being the decider map is just pure 1.3.
I think that Shut Up has really high ceiling and they have a really high floor for where they are right now. And I think that like their weakest players are strong players. And I think their strongest players can pop up and drop 40s. Like I think AimTech like got a lot of 40s this season. And when we beat them on Armory the first time around when they didn't have Stark, they outfragged us by 25 or 30. That wasn't just us rolling them. That was us having to do the dirty work, having to flank, having to stop caps, having to get crucial caps. Like that was just us having to just be crafty as we couldn't outfrag them. They were outfragging us. Mm-hmm. So I have a feeling that they might outfrag us on 2 or 3 of these maps. But if we're able to outflag them, I think that's where we can get victory.
So that is definitely going to be a good matchup, and that matchup is going to be cast by Jagan. So 3 p.m.
tomorrow
Eastern.
At 3 p.m. Eastern.
So that will be Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. We have SAAB versus Shut Up We Are Trying. And Shut Up We Are Trying, while they are the 7th seed, they are the ones who, by the trade deadline, completely remade their roster. So this is a different Shut Up We Are Trying. If all that you watched was early season Shut Up We Are Trying, this team is different, and this team is a lot hungrier than the last one, and they are coming for SAAB on these maps. So going up to the other bracket, we have our 5 versus 4 matchup, Insomniac Gamers, who most people thought throughout the regular season was going to be the top seed, and then they recently, I think they lost their last 2 regular season matches, and they fall down to seed number 4 versus the Brazilian super squad Romario 11, coming in strong. They are to me, one of the most consistent silver teams. And the 5 seed is kind of where they've performed. That one makes a lot of sense for me. They've been very consistent, right in the middle all through the regular season.
One of the 3 maps that they're playing is going to be Lennon. We'll do the pick bands. They did already play on Lennon, and this was the first loss that INSG really felt. They had the power to be able to win this. They were coming from behind. They weren't able to reclaim they weren't able to pass R11 in the last few minutes. R11 won that Lennon match, and R11's going into this with another 7-man lineup. And where SAAB, I feel like we're deciding based on map strength. R11 has a whole different set of worms they have to deal with. They're playing in South America. They're traveling farther for every packet they're sending, and literally on the day, they don't know who's going to have more loss. They don't know who's going to have more ping. They don't know who's not going to be able to play well on a server. They'll find out during the day. The 7 players that they have ready to go are going to be Vanek, Rafinha, Mand, Matt, Burn, Zaps, or Chaps, and LZL, Lucas, who joined us for the interview a little while ago. Lucas is planning on being that 7th man, but if any of those guys have too much loss, if they can't even quick switch, who knows what kind of issues they're dealing with ping, LZL is going to step in. And then if there's going to be any issues with players feeling like they don't have it that day, they need to bring LZL in. LZL is there for the next map. They have that 7-man rotation. INSG also doing the same thing with the 7-man rotation. Shawnality, 9, River Oyster, Pibian, Hypnotic, Head Like a Hole, and Corey Price. I know that the last 2 weeks they haven't really been able to get over that hump. They did slip down in the standings. They did drop 2. Corey Price coming in gives them a little bit more flexibility on these maps. Do you want to go through the map bands?
Yeah, so Insomniac being the 4th seed over the 5th seed, funny to say, the higher seed there. But 4th and 5th, they're going to ban out Rail Yard. R11 is going to ban out Armory, which I'm surprised we just talked about SAAB and Shut Up are actually playing on Armory. Everyone else has it banned out, fast. or it's the Decider map. No one wanted to touch it. Insomniac then going to ban Thunder. R11 is going to ban Harrington, and this one stuck out to me. I'm honestly surprised it took their 2nd ban. R11 does not like Harrington. They are openly hostile towards that map, so the fact that they banned it out makes a lot of sense to me. So Insomniac picks the first map, which is going to be Railroad 2. R11 then is going to pick Lennon, and if need be, the Decider map will go to Anzio.
Yeah, I think that Railroad to start, with that Railroad 2, I think this could go either way. And with both teams having the 7-man roster, I don't want to go too far into where I think they're going to send players, but I think that INSG is going to be a little bit creative on this because they just dropped Railroad 2 against Shut Up. Wasn't quite working for them. They need to figure something out in order to pass over R11 on this map. If they start down 0-1 and they go into Lennon and Anzio, I don't want to be on that back foot against R11. I'd rather take that first match. R11, we just saw them beat Washed Up. We made the video about it. Just amazing comeback to win via the ticks and holding middle. They know what it takes in order to win by those inches. INSG, they can win by those inches if it's cap outs. I don't know if INSG is ready to win by those inches versus tick points. I know that 9 is really, really an intelligent leader. I know that he watches the tick points, but can he convince his team to go along with the plans in order to hold, in order to do these things, in order to get those tick points? Or are they going to be a little bit too aggressive? Are they going to go for cap outs when they don't need them? Those kinds of things. I know R11 is a little bit more of a cohesive unit that I've seen. When I picture R11, I picture like the Flying V and the Mighty Ducks.
Yes.
They all just come out of spawn and they go to the same spawn direction. It's insane.
Every time you play R11, you think you're safe to reload, and you are not.
It honestly, to me, it's like the Zerg. Like it's just like before you know it, the hive mind comes out of spawn, and it's all the Zerglings are rushing you, and you're just
Hmm.
one Marine. It's terrifying to see that many players. One of the first time I played them back when they were sleepers, I remember we were scrimming them, and I was going down long, and I was like, "We can get a cap out here." And I peek, and there's 5 of them. I'm like, why are there 5 guys here? And then like 4 of them are just running down long, priming grenades, and I'm like, what is going on? Oh man. Do you have any predictions on what you think's gonna happen here?
Yeah, so to me, this is going to go 2 ways. Either Insomniac's going to win and win big. And I think if Insomniac wins big on Railroad 2, then I think Lennon's going to be a wash. I think Insomniac's going to ride that high all the way through. Or I think R11 is going to, if R11 wins, to me, it's going to be a knockdown drag out fight. They're going to stretch out. It's going to be a lot of back and forth, middle breaks, moving on for that. I do not necessarily see R11 running over Insomniac here, but this to me, both teams running that 7-man roster and subbing in, this is to me the difference between October baseball and June baseball, right?
Oh yeah,
And
they're
so
ready.
like this is it. I love this. I love the idea that you ride who is better at what. In fact, I would even advocate for switching at half. Right? I would even advocate for you're much better on ally sided on this half than I am. You need to go in there. I'm going to switch over to run train car on this half, but not that half type deal. Like I think even though we've been playing this game competitively for 15, 20, however many years, I don't think DoD is optimized from a competitive standpoint as much as it could be. And I think this idea of the 7-man roster, switching roles, switching them through. If you are not riding the hot hand momentum, switching it up, especially when it's do or die, is the way to do it. And I think R11 has the gumption to do that, right? And I think that they are able to, if the first half of Railroad 2 doesn't go that way, I think they are going to change some stuff up for that second half. So this is what I mean by R11 could, if R11 wins to me, it's going to be a show.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify this 7-man roster. It only works if everyone's ego is in check, if everyone's on the same page, if no one is worried about who gets the frags in the movie, if no one's worried about who is the glory guy, who's the MVP. You can only do this if everyone wants the team to win.
And if you have clear decision making process.
Yeah, you can't sub out your in-game leader and expect to be able to be as successful. Like you gotta
or
be
you
able to
can't
make
spend
sure
30 minutes deciding who's going to sub and who's going to sub out because no one's there to lay down the law.
Yeah, you got to have this set out a week in advance, in my opinion, or the beginning of the season, or halfway through. Like, if you're just deciding the day of, I mean, someone's going to have hurt feelings. Someone's going to feel like, and I regretfully, I've been in that situation with a team where we were trying to figure out who was going to start. You step on toes, egos get hurt. Like we're all friends trying to play this game, but sometimes we make gut calls that
we
maybe
play
not be right.
competitive day of defeat. That means everyone that plays has at least a little bit of competitiveness in them,
Yeah.
right? So anytime
no one's come in and passive,
right? So if we did, we wouldn't be playing competitive DoD, So, you got to say your predictions for R11 versus Insomniac. Who do you think?
I'm giving R11 the edge.
Okay.
R11 has beaten their opponent on Railroad 2 in an exciting fashion, close, and they mathematically knew what they needed to win. R11 also beat this same opponent, INSG, on Lennon. They've already done it. They can do it again. Mm-hmm. And like you sub in Corey Price for either role, you sub out Corey Price. I don't know what they're going to do on that map, but regardless if Corey Price doesn't play, regardless if INSG feels like they have their best 6, they've already lost to this team. This is the second map and they've already lost to it. They must really feel like that was stolen from them. They must feel like they can take that back. If they can't take that back, I just don't see them winning either of the first 2. If they win one of them, it's a coin flip on Anzio, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this one has the biggest potential of going 3 games.
Yeah, if it goes Anzio, I have no idea. I don't know what R11 does on Anzio. I don't know. I've seen INSG on Anzio, and I know that they struggle in scrims, and I know that they struggle knowing like how to ideally use their routes. But
Hmm.
that they overcame the best team in silver right now on that map. That was thrilling, exciting. It's on YouTube. It's I don't know. This is going to be a really good
So as
series.
thrilling and exciting as that was what, the last 3 minutes? That means 37 minutes they got outplayed.
37 minutes, they were down by like 100 and something.
Right, right. So they put it all together for the last 3 minutes, but that's not something you can bank on every time.
Yeah, it's whew, you, you got to give kudos to teams that are able to like make those plays in order to come back in that tight of a fashion. But also like a team that can just win in 37 minutes and just ride out the last three for a victory, like they did a lot of things right. Like the team that wins in 3 minutes, they were in crunch time and they did a few things right. The team that like just dominates the whole time,
They do
I mean,
everything
it's
right.
just
That's
like,
why they dominate
yeah,
the whole time.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I put my money on that team.
I think this game is going to be thrilling, and that's why I am casting this game. So if you want to watch
Excellent.
Insomniac versus R11, come on over to my Twitch stream tomorrow on Sunday. I believe we start at 8 p.m. and I am super excited for this matchup. And we are definitely going to be, if it goes 3 games, we're definitely watching all 3, and we're watching with nails bit and breath abated, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
let's
And then
go on
we
to
have one more.
the last silver matchup we have here, the number 1 seed versus the number 8 seed. We have Team 3H versus Nogo Gaming Council. Now, I am on 3H. I do have an insight into the pick ban process. I was part of that, so I'll try not to super jump in too much on this. But
Yeah,
we
do
have,
you want me to take the wheel so that we
yeah, so I
don't
don't
give too much? Yeah,
give too much
yeah.
away. Yeah.
So 3H bans Armory, No-Go bans Railroad 2, 3H bans Thunder, No-Go bans Rail Yard. So I haven't, the only thing I know is the starting lineups. We'll get to those in a second. But I think that it's odd that 3H banned Thunder. They beat SAAB on Thunder. It's one of CK's best maps. He doesn't admit it. That dude ninjas every single time he plays that
He
map.
does.
It's
He
just, it's
does.
clockwork.
Right.
I'm confused why they banned it. If you look at No-Go, is it confusing they banned Railroad 2? Is it confusing they banned Rail Yard? I'm not saying that they're bad at that map. They feel like that map plays too similarly. They feel like that map just needs to be taken out. They're fine with whatever else, just not a railroad map. If it doesn't have trains, they're happy. So 3H basically had control of their destiny, but they decided to ban Thunder. I'm confused by that decision. We go into 3H's starting lineup. You have Warchild, Nomus, CK, Defrag, Modgers, no Piff. You
Piff
have the
is
Bear.
gone for this week. He will not be for any of the games. He's out of town.
So the Bear brings in an interesting wrinkle. I'm not going to discuss who I think is going to heavy, but Modgers to me is the only clear heavy out of that starting 6. And you're going into Lennon first with one clear heavy against Spoon. Good luck. Spoon can dominate Lennon in his sleep. I've seen it. I've been on his team. The dude is so good on that map. And then you go into No-Go. No-Go's going in with Dedro, Spoon, J-Rod, Code, who is also Miller from the Ninja, Matthew, and Apple. I don't know exactly what they're going to do with rosters there. I specifically asked teams, just tell me with what your six or seven is going to be. Don't tell me any classes because I don't want to give any information by accident.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen in the past that J-Rod and Apple both like that Car 98. I've known from experience that Matthew likes the Stoss over the Car 98. I remember there was a draft that I was picking like all-star players. And I got to the point where I had Spoon and Matthew, and I picked Matthew, and I'm like, Golden got my other car. And then we get to Lennon, and he's like, I kind of want a Stoss. And I'm like, I picked the car.
You start twitching.
Yeah, I was like, what is going on? And he's like, no, I'm good to Stoss. And he drops like 40 with a Stoss. And I'm like, cool, man.
Hey, he backed it up, you know?
Yeah. He likes those extra bullets. But I think going into Lennon without having Piff kind of changes their heavy defense. We were talking about how on Howie, they were able to hold that mountainside in the last minute and a half in order
I
to get
love
those
that you
tick
call it
points.
mountainside because there are no mountains in that map.
No, it's
I
just
just
one
love it.
slope with a slab in it. But they were able to hold that heavy side of the map, the mountainside, and Piff was a big part of that. Piff's not in this match. They're going to have a little bit of a question mark on that heavy. And then they're going into Harrington, another map that's really nice to have a really good bar. And then I got to be honest, this is SAAB playing against Nogo. Nogo destroyed SAAB on the mountainside. Gerard just decimated everybody. First shot car peaks, the wildest strafe peaks, just the narrowest angles, and just going against Nightmare and Manor, and just honestly just ran them over on Axis side. I don't know if 3H is going to have an answer for that. And if they don't, it's going to be really dicey because when they go into Ally side, it's just easier to cap.
Yeah.
So Anzio, if needed, I know that Nogo plays well on Anzio. I know that 3H plays well on Anzio. I've seen CK and War Child do good things on Anzio, even though they lost to INSG on Anzio. I know that they can still win on it.
Well, again, they lost in the last 3 minutes. They dominated 37 minutes of that match.
Also with Piff.
Right. So they are missing one of their main heavies, and the Bear has played a lot this season. So 3H to me is one of the teams that's been very kind of exemplary in the fact that they use their bench. We see other teams not
they've
using
had to rotate
their
players
bench,
out.
And so to me that's a little, if you got a bench, use it, and 3H does, right? So
we should also say they use their bench and they're not losing matches because of it.
Right. And so that's because I'm not the one coming off the bench. It's the Bear. So when we look at this, obviously, I got a homer pick. I'm going 3H in 2 games. I gotta believe in my boys. I gotta believe in my boys.
I mean, you got that home team bias.
I got it.
I don't see how they win on Lennon. I just don't. I know that Nogo is the 8 seed. I know this is an upset. I know I'm picking the Cinderella story, but how do you beat Lennon without Piff against Spoon?
The answer is CK. CK is the answer.
The answer is you ignore flags and you throw grenades into the other team's spawn.
Listen, they can't cap flags if they can't get out of spawn, Caleb. This is textbook Crazy Killer gameplay, and it's going to be on display tomorrow for the 1 versus 8 silver matchup. Now, after tomorrow, we will know our 4 semifinal teams, and we will definitely be looking at that. Good luck to you as you play in your SAAB versus Shut Up match. If you are looking to watch any of these matches, I know Corey is going to be casting. Hold on, I can pull up exactly what he is casting if you give me 1 second.
I'm 99% certain he's casting.
I know for a fact what he's casting. So he's definitely casting SAAB, and he is. He'll be casting the gold finals. That's right. So he's going to be casting SAAB. He'll be casting the gold finals. He'll have some special guests on those gold finals. So be sure, even if you cannot watch it live, it's going to be a great stream. Just a little insider information for you there.
We should clarify the time again. SAAB tomorrow is at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's Sunday the 10th. And then what time is the finals? Is it 9 o'clock on the dot?
Sunday the 12th, by the way.
Yes, it is Sunday. I was reading what time this message was posted, not what day it actually is. Sunday the 12th at 3 p.m.
And then we have KTP Gold, North-South Alliance versus Icy Hot being cast by Jagan at, I believe they are starting at 9, I think.
Stall for a minute. I'll look it up. Let's make sure we get this
correct. Then I will be casting Insomniac versus R11 because I think that game is going to be just back and forth, and I am looking forward to it. And those games are starting at 8 p.m. So I will have that silver matchup. So unfortunately, because everyone plays at the same time, right? So we're only able to cast so many games. We will have 2 of the 4 silver matches cast. And then next week we'll have both semifinals cast, and then we'll have the finals after that. So make sure you are tuning in. This is good. This is playoff. This is playoff DoD. This is where it is at. This is where competitive streaks really come out.
Yeah, and just to clarify for that North Atlantic, the NSA versus Icy Hot, it is currently scheduled to ? So we're assuming 9 o'clock.
My favorite time.
Could be 8 o'clock. We'll find out the day of.
But
yeah,
again,
some exciting
insider
matches.
information, that will be a really good stream over on Corey Marco's channel. So
very cool.
All right, so there we go. Our silver matchup preview. Hope everyone has a really good weekend of Day of Defeat, and we will be back maybe next week, maybe not. Who knows? We'll be back when we're back. Thanks for tuning in to MM1.
Yeah, thanks for joining, guys.
And we will see you guys later.